The good old concept of work. Something that for years has been seen as a staple of society. If you work, you're going to better your life, you're going to move forwards, and you'll finally be able to have the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of. Despite that being the message that's been told to us for over a generation, actually for a few now, more and more people are seeing this to be not true. Say what you want about the cost of living crisis, maybe prices are just going to where they're meant to be, maybe we're just completely getting robbed. No matter what your opinion is, there's definitely a fact and a trend that we're seeing in society, and I honestly don't blame these people for capitalising upon it. We see a trend where it makes less sense for a lot of people to work than what it does for them to find other measures, right? Maybe moving abroad, maybe working online, building a business. Or what I've seen in some cases is people completely dropping out and taking an advantage or utilising the welfare system. I had a few people in the comment section of another video that I filmed earlier this week where people said, I'll be better off utilising this. And it's not something that I would personally do. I think that if you don't want to work in a job, you should try and find a way to make money somehow. But at the same time, a larger and larger number of people are finding this idea, this dream of working in a 9 to 5 for the next. It's not working out for them, right? It's one thing if you had to give away all of your time. And yeah, that's not great, but if you are seeing the lifestyle that you would want from that, or at least a reasonable quality of life, or a quality of life that could not be paralleled by any of the aforementioned methods of living, that makes complete sense. But now there's less and less of an incentive for people to do this. Like I say, not only do we have the situations where people just don't want to work and it's not financially making sense for them, look at certain groups of people who may not get to speak about their situation as much as they should. For example, parents who are looking for childcare for their children. In places like the UK, that is so much of your wage, weekly, monthly, to pay for the kids to go whilst you go work full time. Half of the time, if not a lot more than that, you would be better off not working, right? Because the only benefit that you would get in a lot of these cases is if you see a sense of pride coming from your work, or if you are moving forwards in your career, which is going to long-term benefit your family more. Maybe it's a long-term move, but then you could obviously trade that off with the fact that you are missing out on a lot of your children's growth, especially in the younger years, which that's personal preference, right? But it's another situation that's worth mentioning. Childcare costs, rent costs, low wages. Of course, a lot of people who watch this channel will be in high-skilled jobs, will be working, will choose to work, will want to work, but this is what we're seeing, right? Whether we're talking about moving abroad, whether we're talking about finding ways to make money online, whether we are talking about even utilising the system, as a lot of people have, there's less and less of an incentive for people to work. Because, again, on these very low wages, people often see the job consequences that come with that. And what I mean by that is things like, especially on like minimum wage jobs here in the UK, either long hours or 0 hours contracts, which one of them loses all your time, the other one gives you no stability, because you don't know if you're going to be working 1 day, 6 days, no days, right? No one can really work a 0 hours contract if they hope to have a stable income. So there's very few people who that's useful for. Again, relatively low wages for very long hours. How are you going to work very long hours and come home with not very much money, right? Even if you came home with a decent amount, you're giving so much of your time away. For a lot of these people, they don't want to do it. That's just one situation. And I'm not here to complain, right? There are definitely ways around this that we can speak about, and ways around this that we have spoken about in the past. For instance, upskilling. You can get more high-skilled jobs if you have the right skills. Certain jobs will always be in demand. We've spoken about these facts time and time again. But at the same time, for your average person who's not only giving away a lot of their time, they're now feeling like they are not getting the quality of life that they'd want. And this is where we get to a very, very disappointing point in the world, because we have a lot of people now who not only do they not want to work, right, which to an extent fair enough, but they now don't have to, and they don't see an incentive to. Because what we need to remember, and what a lot of us do know, or always have known, I don't know, is that this idea of work, it's not a one-way relationship. Yes, we do get paid. Yes, we do need that money to live. Yes, it can create a higher quality of life for us. But at the same time, look at the cost of everything, look at the wages that people are seeing. People want pay rises, right? And like I say, it's a two-way system. We do need the pay from them, or people who work a 9 to 5 or a traditional job do, but on the same time, they need the labour from us. Because if everybody withdrew their labour, not that they should, I'm not saying that's a good idea, but theoretically, there will be no workforce, there will be no one to be productive. And what we're seeing now, whether you think it's right or wrong that people think it's not fair to be paid what they're paid, we are seeing a time where the top percentage, the business owners, and I'm not talking about the small businesses who try and do well for their staff, I'm talking about the big businesses. Look at them all. They're all making record profits. Record profits. They're making an awful lot of money. More than they ever have. The share of wealth produced by the workers is the same as ever, if not greater, but the share of wealth accumulated by these people as a percentage of a lot of earnings in most businesses is less, right? It's less for the same. More money goes up to the top, and then we look at people's standard of life. So, well, if you're in the top percentages, that's great. You've probably got a great quality of life. But if you are on the lower percentages, which, by the way, people talk about upskilling, like I say, but the truth of it is not everybody can have a 6-7 figure job. It's not realistic. We need someone to sweep the tables, sweep the streets, all these different things we need people to do. We need people to do basic jobs that keep society running. Who's going to do the roads? Who's going to drive the bus? Who's going to drive the truck that takes our food from place to place? People need average jobs, but the idea of an average job now, in a lot of industries, we're seeing two things. Number one, very, very difficult conditions to get hired. People have said this to me in the comment sections of a lot of my videos where I speak about topics like this. People like to make this out that people are lazy and they're not looking for work. The truth of it is, a lot of these places are not hiring as much as you might think that they are. The second thing is, of course, when people do get these jobs, or if people do have these jobs, they feel like not only are they unfulfilled by them, they're not getting paid fairly. And this is very, very important, because we can talk about the idea of fulfillment. That's its own thing. If you don't feel fulfilled but you get paid okay, there might be something to work with there. When people don't feel like they're getting either, there's no wonder why people aren't happy with the workforce. So yeah, a lot of people seem like they don't want to work. A lot of people actually don't want to work. Maybe people haven't always wanted to work, but I know this is true for a lot of people. People will and would work harder if they had a few things. Number one is the opportunity to prove themselves. Give people a job, right? Like I say, 2 years experience required for basic jobs. How is someone at 16, 17, 18 going to have that? Give them the chance to build, and they might be your best worker ever. Then we've got the fact that an increasing number of people, again, don't feel like they're being paid properly. Give people a decent pay, and they may be okay with it. Give people a stake in the company. Make it feel like management cares, just slightly, not massively. But the balance is so off right now. We don't see this. And people feel less and less incentivized to work, especially when they see all of their times going to a company that they don't respect, to a position that they don't appreciate. It pays the bills, but nothing much more. And at the end of all of that, giving away so much time, they may not be that much better off. And this is absolutely important to think about when we're discussing a subject like this. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.